Memorable Motivation, Investigating the Human Mind and How Wanting Something Affects Memory by Cassidy Goyak, Fall Semester 2025. The basic parameters. My question is, what does motivation do to the brain in terms of memory? This created my hypothesis of if a person is given motivation, then said person will remember more words. My manipulated variable is the amount of motivation given, and my responding variable is how many words are remembered. The controlled variables are having the same amount of words on the list, the same media or way of seeing the words on paper, the time to see the words, and the time to write the words. Procedure and equipment. My procedure is to find a willing participant and propose the challenge to them using the scripts below, depending on the current running test. Watch and mediate the test, then thank them for their time and document results. My equipment, my materials are Hershey Kisses for motivation and paper for the word list and writing space. My measurement tools are a timer and the amount of words written. The scripts below are all the same, besides the motivation type, so I will only be reading one. Thank you for doing this test. All I need from you is you to look at this list of 10 words for 45 seconds when I say, and memorize them. Then write the words you know in the next 45 seconds. A few vocab terms to note. The relevant brain parts are not expressly mentioned, but are good to know if you want to take this further. They include the prefrontal cortex, in which it creates an emotional association to certain rewards, the substantia nigra, the brain's motor control and reward pathway, the hippocampus, the brain's memory and learning system, the amygdala, the brain's reasoning and planning center, the nucleus accumbens, rewards the brain for pleasure, motivation, and other reward using hormones such as dopamine, noradrenaline, and acetylcholine. The dopamine, movement, big emotions, memory, rewarding, and pleasurable feelings. Noradrenaline, giving attention and the fight or flight response. Acetylcholine, muscle contraction. Motivation, the reason a person wants to do something. Blind study, a study where none of the participants are aware of what they are doing that study for. Pictorial, relating to pictures. The idea picking process. First, formulating. When I was first working on this project, my parameters were more along the lines of how does each type of test done, visual, audible, and pictorial, affect the memory. I then soon realized that the types of testing needed were difficult and had too many variables to get conclusive results. As well as the variable issue, the words in the list were too difficult to remember in my now more knowledgeable opinion. That caused me to change my project. The original list of words was fruit, fire, neon, hallway, rhino, love, apple, table, search, and want. It was changed to flower, lion, bang, ruler, log, audio, sweet, heart, brace, and canter. Timeline and changes made. When I first changed my experiment to just lists, I had planned to do 4 groups of 15 tests each, but I had quickly realized how much time that would take, so I cut it down to 3 groups with only 10 people each. When I first started testing people on roughly November 18th, 2025, and I finished on December 9th of 2025. In those 3 weeks of time, I accumulated my data, figured out the optimal way to present my challenge, and fixed the amount of reward. Once data was accumulated, I graphed it. For the reward fix, I went from general candy to the specific name drop of Hershey Kisses. This seemed to draw interest much better. As well as changing the name drop, I changed the third group of people to having 2 candy instead of 3 given, before ever starting their tests because I assumed it would work better. How each test goes. This is here to define in depth how each test was done. This was a blind study. It started by asking if they are willing to participate based on the script read. After getting them, I'd hand them a piece of paper with 10 dashes and a line for their name. Then I'd ask them to write their name on the line and explain the rules. 45 seconds for each portion of the test, memorizing and writing. Once they began, I'd watch the clock and cover the words with my palm after 45 seconds pass. Then I take the notebook and watch them write the words before documenting results by writing in the top corner. NM for motivationless, M1 for 1 motivation, and M3 for 3 motivation, along with the number of words gotten. I give them their reward if promised and then thank them for their time. Data. The data to the right of these words is the data amassed over the course of this testing period, November 18th, 2025 through December 9th, 2025. This is written in order of the tests given and not numerical value. I have also decided to remove names from the scores to keep confidentiality of my subjects. If you take a moment to refer to the graph, you can see that there is a clear correlation between memory and motivation, seeing the highest numbers are in the rightmost column, where the third group of motivation was. Graphs. Pie chart. When looking at the charts here, we can see a clear correlation between motivation and memory inside the 3 groups. Refer to the first diagram to notice that the results are more skewed to the bottom half of the 1 to 10 scale, having an average of around 4 to 5 words. That shifts upward when you look at the single motivation graph, averaging 7. And with the final graph averaging 8 to 9 words, the correlation is definitely noticeable. Bar graph. The bar graph here truly shows a pattern in the data, the median of each respective category growing further up closer to the max rather than being all clumped together. The reason they are not all clumped together is because my hypothesis was in fact correct in that when motivation is given, results will get better. The graphs are similar with similar trends due to the same data being used in each. Conclusion. Throughout this whole process, I have slowly been coming to the conclusion that my hypothesis was right on the nose. For a refresher, this was my hypothesis. If a person is given motivation, then said person will remember more words. This is an accurate statement, now backed up by the data shown prior and gathered by me personally. Reflection. This project, in my opinion, was done relatively well, but there are some possible corrections and additions to make it spectacular. These include, but are not limited to, more tests per group, retrials with new words and new people, done in different age groups besides 12 through 16, trying a digital version of this same test, same environment for every test. Works cited. Now, thank you for your time and attention, and have a nice rest of your day. Here are my works cited.